thought OBS was supposed to notify me when the stream dropped. OBS notify stream dropping. One thing I should do is do this. That doesn't help. Yeah. Okay. Yay, it's fine now. I wish I knew, like... Because used to, OBS would pop up a thing and say, like, your stream has dropped, right? When it dropped. But now, like, this version of OBS doesn't do that. Which is real great. Awesome. Massive improvement. You know, thankfully I have a dark theme now, because, like, that's important. Let me look in here. I don't know if anybody knows any way to set that to notify me, or if it even exists. Anywho, oops, stream's back up, so that's good. I almost had a sneeze there. Okay, so the thing I need to look at is I need to look at a panel where, like, for example, they're all supposed to be off, because that would be the concern. Is that needs to clearly be solved. I guess I'm worrying less about what the exact colors are going to be and more about what's the functionality that I give, like how many colors should I have. So I've got highlight color and I've got soft color, and so if I set the soft color to something, then essentially it sets the outline color or it sets the filled color. So if it's like these, then it would set the fill color. And if it's these, it sets the outline color. I've got highlight color, which is whatever this is. Which if I set highlight color and soft color to be the same, then that's no good. Also, highlight color should never be white, because then you won't be able to see those guys. So. That's probably fine, just those three colors. So I think I will just go with those. It is strange though. What is this? Lick color doesn't exist. Okay. Oh yeah, because I had constants for these. I really don't. I mean, I could use the constants, but probably saves on generating memory usage. Where? Okay, constants is in another file, of course. So I got constant colors here, so I'm basically just generating different colors there. So it's really not necessary, but you know, if I have constants as soft color there, like I could set it here essentially. So it could be like default highlight color, default base color. And not have to new a color every time, I guess. But I don't know whether that's even necessary. So we got like default solved color. Default panel solved color. And default panel highlight color. And base color. And then that needs to be like this here. And we'll go base color. And that's back here. So I don't need that, I don't need that, I don't need that. Anyway. I'm dropping frames like crazy again. What is going on? I am dropping frames like crazy, and I don't know why. Why am I dropping frames? What is using my internet? OBS. It seems okay now. I'm going to lower the output bitrate a little bit, which might make it look worse, but hopefully it'll stop dropping frames. So this is my bad internet, so I apologize. So what is this? Puzzle start. I actually don't need puzzle start at all anymore, really, because I don't use puzzle start. Puzzle start can be deleted, I believe. They're not in the game anymore, so. Soft color. Yeah, I don't need that set there. Those colors will get set later. Override color. Yeah, that's what I used to do, is I just override all the colors, like by a tint color. So. Still a thing I could do. I don't know whether to do that or not. I don't think so. So I think I'm just going to delete that. Okay, lick color. What is this? Why am I setting a color of a tile? Why is that set to lick color? I'll set it to base color if I set it to anything. Probably don't need to set that at all, though. And I don't need this either. I need, so it doesn't contain override color. That's true. It doesn't contain override color. I have too many darn things open. So I don't need this. I need color fields though. Base color. Highlight color. And I need soft color. Oops. Yeah. I misspelled highlight color, didn't I? Okay, so now that should work. Oh, we're not listening to anything, are we? I should listen to something. I like the Crypt of the Necro Dancer soundtrack. Oh no, I don't have an ad blocker on here. So. Anyway, someone let me know if the stream starts dropping frames like crazy again. So, yeah, unstable. No kidding. Interesting. So what are these colors that it's using? Why solved black? I thought the default for solved was not black. I must have not set the default for solved to anything. Default panel soft color. Okay, I guess I do have a default panel soft color. I must have not set it in the constants. Oops. Let's go back and start that over. And all right. So, yeah, I need to look at constants. It's supposed to be white. Default panel solved color is supposed to be white. So, why is it not white? It might be getting overridden on the instances, so probably the best thing at that point will be to make it private for a second. Oh yeah, I can't set it here, can I? Can't set it there. Man, I dropped a lot of frames. So now let's try unprivating it or publicizing it again and see if it works. just gonna have to freaking hack this, I guess, to where it sets all of them in my, like, I get all this weird stuff in Unity sometimes where, you know, I'll set something up in the prefab and it won't propagate, or I'll try to set something up in the script and it won't propagate. Okay, so for some reason in the prefab, the default soft color is that, which is weird. So hopefully that propagated. If not, then I'll have to like copy it. Okay, it did. So those are all default colors. Because I, like, really what I would like to have is I'd like to have something for where I can set a default thing and it loads the default in by default, and then on a individual instance I could look at it, and then if I want it on something in here, I could hit like reset to prefab or something. Like I could right click the thing and say reset to prefab, but I can't do that. I can do like this, revert, but then that reverts everything to the prefab, not just like one thing. So it would kind of be nice if I could do it per thing. Oh, I guess I can. Excuse me, I didn't know that I can do this, revert value to prefab. Well, little did he know. I don't know why they're all still overridden that way though. It's weird. Okay, soft color alpha should be full as well. Okay. Huh. It's interesting that errors out on solution state for some reason. Okay, so let's try that again. So those seem to work. Whoa, what's up with that? What is up with that? Oh, this is still alpha of 0. Did I like try to change that while I was like running the game or something stupid? But yeah, like I said, sometimes it won't propagate because it's like, well, that's overridden on this one. And it's like, well, I don't... Like, even when I did that, I hit like revert value to prefab, and then as soon as I like clicked off of that panel and go back, now it's fixed. I'm just gonna do it the way I was going to, which is like to just cheat it through my helper menu basically, and just set all of them to be white. This doesn't give me the support to set individual tile colors, which I might also like to be able to store. But, let's see. It's probably fine for most things. What am I looking for? Oh, I'm looking for script. I'm looking for this. Because I have this like validate function that validates everything. And I can really just do this. Panel dot solved color is equal to constants dot default panel solved color. I think that's what it is. So I can just do that, just validate, and then it'll... I wonder what object that was. Little panel 11. Oh, it's this guy. Weird. What was this one? So they got zeroed out on something. I'm not sure what. Oh, Jesus, what? What is going on? Why is the solved color for it like that now? What the hell is happening? What is going on? Why is the alpha 0 for solved color on that? That was the whole point here, wasn't it? Like this is setting, maybe when it sets color wide it doesn't affect the alpha. I don't know. Let's try running validate puzzles again. Should be right now. So just literally I'm just trying to set the color to where it's the same on all the puzzles as a baseline. But why is it setting the alpha to clear? I don't know what's going on at this panel. It keeps setting the solved colors alpha to 0 and I don't know why. No idea why. It's right now, but I don't know why it was wrong, so... Anyway. But I do know with these guys that I want the colors to be certain things, so... This one needs to be... this color, basically. Go over there. I'll just move the player this way. It'll be easier. Oh, come on. Move the player over there. Okay. The base color should be... base color should be the dark color, I guess, or the light color. Like, what does this eyedropper do? Okay. It seems like it doesn't do anything. dropping frames. This whole dang time. And I don't know why. I'm gonna put this like on like a low thing. It won't affect the quality of the music, but who can say? The internet here is so finicky, I don't know. I have no idea what's going on. I guess I didn't consider the possibility there could be other devices sitting around in here downloading things too while I'm trying to stream, but it's possible. Okay. Hopefully not too terrible. I lowered the bitrate again, but so the base color basically should be that. See, like, I don't understand, like, when I set it to this, like, if I hit this eyedropper, it doesn't, like, appear to do anything, so I don't know what's going on with that. How did I learn how to do all this stuff? I pretty much just started doing it. I guess that's what I would say. But it really depends on what exactly you mean by this stuff. If you mean by like programming, yeah, mostly programming was just starting doing it. Yeah, that looks fine. The other one should be I mean, really that goes for all of it, is just like start doing it. Okay, that doesn't work. Oh, because it's soft color. To mention those look really dark, like unusually dark. I guess they're right, but I still feel like could up the value of both of them and it wouldn't be too terrible. I don't, like I said, I don't see what that does, that eyedropper there does. So, yeah, and then that should be really the same yellow. I should be able to do this. But yeah, mostly just start making games. You can read a lot of stuff online if you need help with programming or... Well, really, that's mostly what you would read. Design stuff is going to be a little more tricky and just a matter of trial and error and figuring it out. I don't need to draw the panel requirements. Let's see. I did give a game design lecture a couple years back. if you're interested in game design. Maybe that's helpful. Google links. So if you're interested in game design, maybe that's useful. Let's see. Yeah, this would be the one where I don't have the ability to color different parts of the panel differently. But I can, because I feel like that should be doing something, but it's clearly not. Is it pulling from there? No, it's just not doing anything. I don't know what it's doing. I don't know what that is. I'm wasting too much time thinking about it. Yeah, programming. I mean, I've programmed since I was a little kid, so like the first thing I ever programmed, which now you can't even, like, it's not the same thing, but was for this game engine called RPG Toolkit. Like I said, now it's not even the same thing. It's like totally a different thing than it was when I was using it, which was back, well, besides the fact that their like website is not working, but so besides that, like it was back in like the, oh my gosh, it was like the late 90s or early 2000s or something. I programmed in a scripting language for that was called RPG code. So that was kind of the first programming language that I ever used. And then I learned some QBasic, and I wrote code for some other game engines and stuff. I used a lot of like those kind of game engines and things. And then I learned C++ much later. Okay, so those all work. That soft color needs to be changed, but so let me go to this one and pull these colors. Yeah, so I learned C++. That was probably in 2007 or 2008 that I learned C++. I did that for a while, and I also made some games in Game Maker. If you learn like one programming language, most programming languages are pretty similar to each other, so it's not that hard to learn another one. It's really just learning like what's unique about that one. So learning like C# and Unity is not a huge leap from C++. It's a lot more like Java than it is like C++, or even C. But I also just don't use a lot of the C# isms of that. I write a lot of my code just kind of more or less like you would write it in C. It's just it happens to be encapsulated in a class because C# wants everything to be a class, which I don't really care for. But I just try to write as much stuff as possible in the same thing. You know, because you could very easily write this stuff by like, well, maybe like all of the tiles are classes or something. And I guess they are to a certain extent, because I have certain stuff about them that's in its own file that gets taken care of there, but a lot of times that's just because how Unity does things, and a little bit less of that it's how I would want to do it. So that's base, and then that's highlight. And then we also want solve to do the same stuff. Thus far, I haven't wanted to change the color on any of these when they're solved, so I pretty much like set the low let 1 to. I just like need a base color, and I need a highlight color, and I need a solve color. So I don't know. I don't know. One thing that I'm wondering is, like, if I do this, what these guys would look like if I just overload that. Well, they don't look too bad that way. Should probably make default one just gray instead of that blue color. Let's see. Learning JavaScript and trying to do coding challenges. I actually don't know if I would recommend, if you're just learning programming, to do coding challenges, because most of the time coding challenges tend to be like, they're supposed to be like puzzles for people who already know how to program. Like, a lot of times if I go and look at a website that has those kind of things, they're kind of hard for me to do, because usually they try to come up with some kind of difficult or non-obvious problem to solve. So yeah, I don't know if I would actually recommend those kind of things for beginners. I would say instead you should, like, if you want to make games, then you should try to just make a game. Like, try to make the simplest game that you can make. Like, I don't know what's the easiest thing to make in JavaScript, but let's say if you can just spit out text and take input, then try to make something with that, right? If you can do pictures, you can draw pictures, then you can do things like try to make like tic-tac-toe or something. Because doing that's going to be a lot harder than you would think it would be, and it's probably it's probably both a little easier and more straightforward and more fun than doing arbitrary coding challenges, because really, yeah, most of the time those things are like for people who already know how to program but want to like test their skills on some kind of weird problem. I'm sure you can probably find online tutorials on programming and stuff that will give you very easy problems if you want to learn just basic stuff or just talk about how you use features of the programming language. The only thing I would say about JavaScript is JavaScript is kind of a bad programming language. It's fine to learn it because syntactically it's pretty similar to a lot of programming languages, but semantically it has a lot of weird stuff going on that most programming languages don't, because they're a little better thought out than that programming language. But a lot of people use JavaScript, so you know, certainly if you want to do web development, a lot of that's done in JavaScript right now, so it's not a bad thing to learn it. I'd just be concerned about from a beginner standpoint, you might look at certain aspects of the language and think that doesn't make any sense, and think that it's just because you're a beginner and not because it's just a bad programming language that doesn't make any sense. As far as thinking like a programmer, it's not really about thinking like a programmer, it's just you do have to kind of get accustomed to telling the computer exactly what to do. But as far as, you know, where to begin when you're learning to program, I mean, it really just depends on what you want to do, right? If you want to learn to program to make web pages, then probably learning JavaScript is fine. If you want to learn to program to make video games, then it's probably not a bad idea to use something like Unity or Game Maker. I think both of those you can get free versions. Unity you definitely can get free versions because I'm using the free version. So both of those are great if you want to make games. I'd say if you're more interested in programming than you are in game design, then at some point you should try to go lower level than that, and try to either write games using some kind of higher level game making library, using a lower level language, or just try to write your own engine. But that's mostly if you're interested in becoming like a programmer, more than a game designer. Like if you're mostly interested in game design, then something like Unity is fine. And you may not, it may be good to look at like C or C++ and see what lower level programming is, because it's not really as scary as it seems, and it's not really that different than high level programming. Like, I'd say the main difference is how much you rely on library code, but the actual, you know, what you're typing in and the way the control flow works and the stuff that you're thinking about is not really that different between like C and JavaScript. And C's like way faster, so I don't know. I mean, JavaScript might be easier to get up and going than C. I think my only concern with something like JavaScript, and this is just some kind of fuddy-duddy guy that's been programming for a long time, is that I feel like JavaScript gets taken too seriously for how lousy of a programming language it is. It's kind of like when I learned QBasic, everybody kind of knew that QBasic was just sort of like a toy programming language that was for people who were trying to learn programming. And so nobody was seriously like, yeah, QBasic, like that's the future. It was kind of just like, QBasic serves its purpose, which is like a language that you use when you're learning programming. But if you really wanted to like write an engine and like make something that was fast and do cutting edge work or whatever, you use something else. Whereas the thing that I see certainly like in web development, it happens a lot, where everybody just stays with JavaScript forever, right? And then they're like, say that JavaScript is like the assembly language of the web, and it's kind of like, okay, that's a pretty bad assembly language, but I think as a complete newbie to programming, some of the things about Unity would be a little hard, and that's just on account of the fact that it's a 3D engine. So I would probably recommend looking at Game Maker over Unity for that. Like if you want to make games, it's much easier to make 2D games, and I'm using Unity right now to make a 2D game, but that's like ignoring a lot of things about Unity. And in fact, I do some 3D things about it. Like You'll notice like it's still a 3D game technically because I can like move the camera around. I'm just ignoring the fact that there's another dimension. Except I don't actually, because I have I do some fancy schmancy projection stuff so that I can have 3D objects that are put into the 2D world or whatever if I wanted to do that. But I mean, there's lots of people who don't know how to program very well that pick up Unity and learn it. I don't think it's out of the question to do that. I have like a crazy glare from the sun coming in, like right on my face. And it makes me look like I'm holy or something. I don't know. I can't really do anything about it because it's coming in through the front door. So hopefully it's just not blinding anybody else. But I don't think it's that hard to learn to do stuff. There's lots and lots and lots of tutorials for Unity stuff. I mean, you can kind of just Unity tutorials. There's probably also a lot of Game Maker tutorials. Yeah, like even on just the main sites for these, there's like lots of stuff, right? Like it's way easy to learn this stuff compared to how it used to be. Like, see, like cool, right? They've got like pretty basic stuff for Unity, right? It's like here's a game. It's if you want video tutorials, they've got those. Game Maker has like video tutorials. Like I don't think it's really that hard to learn compared to the way it used to be. I don't necessarily know whether or not at the end of this particular game is going to be good, because I haven't gone through these tutorials to validate them necessarily, but you know, that's mostly game design, and that's just about experience making games and experience playing games and just knowing like what feels good to you, and then kind of the experience of figuring out how to do those different things, and that just takes time, and just making a lot of stuff, but definitely as like a beginner making games, I think it's better if you're leaning towards the end of the spectrum where you're going to be saying, well, I'll just use JavaScript and try to like do some basic mathy type things or something instead of trying to jump into the deep end and make a game. It's better to lean towards that end than to lean towards the like, I'm gonna make a MMORPG by myself type end, because that's not gonna happen. So generally speaking, like as far as what kind of games you should make, it's like you should try to make the simplest thing possible, and starting out I'd say just go through some tutorials like that, like this stuff that just walk you through making a game that's just a basic thing, and then I would say try on your own without a tutorial to make a clone of something really simple. Like I said, tic-tac-toe is a good one. That's very simple because there's like not animations in tic-tac-toe. It's just pretty simple, and that in and of itself is going to be a challenge as a beginner to figure out how to do that. And so you'll learn a lot just from doing that kind of thing. So, you know, just making a clone of something like that. Like you could try Tetris. Tetris would be a lot harder starting out than something like tic-tac-toe, but I think that those are probably good things to learn, so you're just like focusing on the craft of making games and less on the design challenges. And so you kind of work your way up to that, right? After you've like, okay, I've taken a design where I don't have to think about the design too much. I already know like what tic-tac-toe is supposed to be like, or I already know what Pong is supposed to be like, or whatever. I already know what Breakout is supposed to be like, and instead I can just focus on making that work, and then maybe making that feel good, and just learning how to make games in that way. And then you kind of branch out from that and say, okay, well, I have this other idea for something that's kind of like this but different or whatever. But yeah, like a platformer, you could start out with a platformer, but there's a lot of things to think about in a platformer that there isn't in something like tic-tac-toe, right? So that's kind of why I think the simpler the better. Obviously, it seems like they do have a platformer tutorial, so that's probably fine. It seems like they probably have an asteroids type game here, which would be fine for a starting out kind of game. It's pretty simple. Anyway, that's a lot of going on that subject, but maybe that'll get chunked off into its own thing, because I'm sure other people will ask, because lots of people do ask, like how you get into working on games and whatever. So, yeah, I probably do need to set that default to not be this color. Even though I like that color, I don't think it should be the color for everything. Instead, it should probably be... what would the highlight color be? Maybe like 7.5. Another thing that can help is just like watching programming streams or game development streams on Twitch. Like, you can learn a lot just from that. I mean, it doesn't seem like you would, but you can kind of learn a lot of things just from that. Because you just get to see people doing whatever it is that they're doing. William Cheer is hosting me now. Thanks, William, for the host. You should check out William's stream if you haven't done that. He is making a really awesome game. It's called Manifold Garden. Manifold Garden. This game is really cool. It's like abstract architecture and walking around on walls and solving puzzles and infinite worlds that loop and loop around. It's a cool game. Looks cool. The puzzles are cool. Definitely recommend that game. Let me post that in the chat. Okay, so I need to change this panel color on the prefab because it does not look like it is changed. Okay. It should be the one from the script, but it's not. I don't know what it is. Nor do I know what 45 is on that. So I'm going to try that. Let's see. 0.45 times 255. So like 115, roughly. $115. I don't think I have I'm afraid I had a hotkey set up for. Okay, so base color and highlight color. Let's see what's going on with it. Yeah, his game's pretty cool. And he has been working on it for a long time. That's the other thing I would say as a new developer, just kind of expect that you're gonna be working on stuff for a long time. Actually, I feel like my default color should be that color. probably. That would probably be the right color to pick for the highlight color. Well, let me look at this panel. So base is this color, then highlights that and solves that. Base, highlight, solved. So I'm setting solved to be wired by default. So I'm going to just set this to be that and see what that looks like. Yeah, that looks okay. And the when it's solved, it should turn white. Okay, that's fine for defaults. Okay, so that seemingly took a lot of time, but we did finish this pretty much. That's done, and that's done too. I'd say. Well, we could clean it up some more, but we'll just put that down on the to-dos at the bottom still. It's probably tolerable, even though it's still a little messy. We do have, for these guys, we have some colors. But I do have this stuff where it's like I'm setting that to black, and I don't know that I should do that. Because it feels kind of like it should be more like this. Yeah, it's pretty impressive, certainly, what William's been able to do. He hasn't done it completely by himself, but for the most part by himself. He had some people on for a few months. This game has been by myself as well. I was working with another guy named Martin Cohen, who I mentioned earlier on in the stream. So there's still some code in there of his, and this character design is his. That's going to get replaced, though. It's not that I didn't like working with Martin. I have nothing against Martin. I think he's very talented. I think you should definitely, if you're not following him on Twitter, you should keep up with him. He is super talented. He's a talented artist and designer and musician, and it's great, and I'd love to work with him. But the issue is, if you want to work with other people, you kind of have two ways to go about it. The best way is if you can pay them to work on the game full-time with you. That requires money, which I don't have. And the other alternative is to do some kind of profit-sharing thing, which my past experience with has taught me that if somebody's really good and you're in a situation where you're saying, well, profit sharing with that person, somebody else is probably going to come along with money, and people need money to live, and so they're going to have to do something else, and so they can only be so committed to your project. So, because I want to ensure that I get this game done, it's a lot easier if I control everything. It's a lot easier if I can do everything. Unfortunately, that means kind of setting my standard for the game a little lower. But if it means the game gets done, then that's great. It just means I have to scope for my own capabilities instead of for me plus somebody else. Okay, so I think that pretty much Let's see, what else did I want to do? Well, that was really it. That's all I actually had planned to do today. So I'm going to take a quick break, and then I will come back and we'll think about whether we're going to do anything else or whether we're going to call it a day. But I do need a break, so.
So TaxAct gives me free filing, plus access to last year's return and unlimited phone support. You know, the extra stuff that TurboTax and H&R Block charge for.
So it's like piracy.
How so?
Well, you get
Okay. So, I'm gonna turn the music down slightly. Hopefully that's okay. Hopefully I'm audible. I don't know. It's very hard to tell from OBS what the actual output audio sounds like. As far as I know, there's no way for me to listen to it other than just go listen to the stream. Anyway, so we have finished all of the critical programming tasks right now. I almost never use this doing thing. Like, I almost never move something to doing, so I might just get rid of that. So I could do some design work, which might be fun because I haven't designed anything for the game in a while. I guess I do have some design work that's not that, but yeah, we could make some puzzles. I have a lot of puzzles lying around here though, so one thing that would be nice for making puzzles at some point is this, which would be essentially making it to where all the panels would rebuild while I'm making the game, so I don't have to stop and start the game every time I do a change to a puzzle. I'm trying to think of how I can even do that. Feels like onValidate should do it. I would have to like destroy all of the things and rebuild them. I could do that before I actually do some design, or I could just do design work. I guess I'll let Markram in the chat decide whether or not I fix this issue, because the issue is, like, for example, if I'm editing a puzzle panel here, like I'm changing things with it, it doesn't update while the game's running, so I have to stop the game and restart it, which, as you can see, takes a little bit of time. It doesn't take too long, but it does take a little bit of time. So if, for example, I'm like, okay, I want to edit this puzzle, I can't just be like, maybe I'll make it to where it's like this now. Like, it doesn't rebuild the panel when I do that. It just throws it out. Sure, so I can either fix that, or I can just design some panels without having that ability and just have to stop and then re-edit the panel here, and then anyway, I'll let you make that decision between those two things. Oh yeah, that's the problem. If I draw the thing, it doesn't work unless I set the integer thing. That's a bug. I need to fix that. Let me add that to the programming. It's just a minor bug, but fix bug with panels showing requirements even on disabled tiles. Oops. So put that up there. And okay, I'll fix it. If, let's see, if panel is not using integer solutions and is showing requirements, then they even on disabled tiles for some reason. I don't know why that is, but we'll see. That is important, but not critical. So, hey, I'll put it in doing. Why not? Okay, so I'm going to try. First off, I'm going to just try validate on validate and see if I get the callback. Debug.log panel. Let's see. It should be panel is changed. So we're just going to log that out and see if I get a callback into there when the game's running. So I should get a callback now if I change something. Like if I do this. Well, I don't get a callback. What if I change something here? Okay, so I get a callback from changing these, but not from changing the other one, which is interesting. Very interesting. So I don't get callback from my custom panel controls. Okay, let me look that up. Unity, on validate, custom inspector. The answer was in serializing and property field. Oh dear. Let me just look in my editor and see if I've got anything in here. Okay, because I'm setting it dirty that way, so I should be able to just call something from here and say like... Yeah, so we'll just do like... yeah, I should just be able to call this panel.like rebuild or something. Right now I'm going to do it if it's just... if the game's running, which I think... Where do I do that? It's like application is running. I think that's what it is. Is running. Is playing. Okay, so its application is playing. So close that out, close that out. So it should be application is playing. Because I don't want to do it in editor mode. Later I'd like to do that. So let's go to do build panels in editor mode. So it's what you see is what you get. Because I'd like to be able to have like you see the panels live in the editor too. Okay, puzzle panel does not contain a definition for rebuild. That's true. So now let's just go, instead of that, we'll go rebuild. And we'll see if I get a call on that. Come on now. Does not contain a definition for rebuild. I guess I need to make it public so I can call it. Okay. Hey, okay, so I get a call back now. So now I should just be able to do my rebuilding in here when it gets changed. Which basically means I kind of need to delete everything. I think everything should be a child component. Let's see, get children. Okay. Let's see if there's something to do with children. Let's see. Transform, child count, components and children. I don't really need components. I just need like the children. Destroy immediately. Okay. It's got something to do with transform, probably. Transform, child count, find, get child, is child of. Oh man, this should not be so hard. The easiest thing to do would be while, I guess it's going to be transform dot child count. I'll probably do it somewhere with my, where I disable the panel too. Where is that? Set children active. Let squares set active. Okay, so I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna try doing while transform child count is more than 0. Then we're gonna just loop through and we're gonna go transform.get child, and we're getting it by index, so we should just be able to get the 0th index, and then I should be able to dot game object. I should be able to go like game object dot destroy that. So first off, I'm just going to see whether or not that will destroy all the things, because it should destroy all of the tiles and everything that the panel generates, because they're all like hierarchically underneath that panel. So if I hit this, it should destroy everything. And instead it looks like it got stuck in an infinite loop, which is great. Okay, I don't think it's going to let me rebuild the script. It's probably just locked, and I'm going to have to kill Unity. Okay, well, we'll just kill Unity. Kill Unity. Well, my my thing didn't work very well. So I thought it would evaluate child count every loop through there, but it doesn't seem like it did. Because the problem is, well, I could make a list and then I can go through and destroy all the objects separately from the list. But yeah, I can make a list and go through and destroy all the objects on the list. But the problem is with iteration, if I just iterate through the children, then theoretically... Oh, well, it's not going to destroy immediate. So actually, I don't have to do that. That's the problem. If I hit destroy immediate, then it will do it. Okay. So... there's just no way to get a list. So we'll just do in I equals 0, I is less than transform dot, what was it, child count, something like that, child count, 5 plus plus, and then we'll go destroy those. So it's a deferred thing is what it does. It like, Unity didn't crash, Unity got stuck in a infinite loop. Let me see. Let me bring up. I'll just bring up Paint. Paint's good enough to explain what I was thinking was going to happen. Okay, so say I have like all the different tiles like this, right? And I want to destroy them. What I was thinking was happening is I was going to say, okay, we've got a variable that stores how many there are, right? And so there's 6 right now. So there's 6. So I was saying, okay, while this count is not 0, then basically just destroy the first one. Because what I was thinking was going to happen is it's going to destroy this, and Unity's going to destroy the thing, and then it's going to update the count. And so now it's going to be 5, and then it's going to... This list is no longer has this on it, and so this is the first one. So this is, well, 0, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so now I destroy this one, and then this goes down to 4, and then this one becomes 0. So now it's 0, 1, 2, 3, and I just destroy them that way. Because iteration-wise, I can't just loop through them and say destroy, because it removes it from the list when I do that. So if I were to just iterate through them and like go to the next one, so I would destroy this and then I'd say go to the next one. Now my index would be on this one, and so I would say go to the next one, and it would go to this one and skip one, and so I would destroy this one, and then I would say go to the next one, and then my index would be on 2, which would now be this one, and then I would go to the next one, and then I would destroy this one. So I'd only destroy half of them. It's just an iteration thing. But I forgot that Unity's destroy doesn't actually destroy it. It basically just marks it. So when it goes through, it goes mark, 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 and then at the end of the frame, it goes and says, okay, what's been marked, and then it destroys all of it. So I don't actually have to worry about that unless I used this thing that was called destroy immediate. So I just do destroy and iterate over all of them, and it should be fine. Like that. So that should work. Except I got a syntax error. Which is here. This should be a semicolon. Actually, no, I don't think it should be a semicolon. Okay, yeah, it should be a semicolon. I never know what the syntax is for these things. Yeah, it's like the pop method in JavaScript, right? If you pop something off of a stack, then it's no longer on the stack, and so the first element is now the next element, right? So if you delete something off the beginning of an array, and I'm accessing the first element on that array, or accessing the second element on the array, or whatever, I'm accessing it. It's like that's actually a different element now that I've destroyed the first one than it was before, even though the number's the same. So let's see if this rebuilds. Okay. It definitely destroyed it, which is what I wanted. Strangely, it kept the quad, which is surprising to me. I wonder why it kept the quad. That's weird. Anyway, so it kept the quad. So I don't know if I can actually do this, but if I can call start from here, then I'll call start. If not, I'll make an init function, and then I'll just call init. And then maybe that'll work. You just have to see what it does. Like if I do this. Hey look, it's rebuilding it. It's rebuilding it. It's not disabling that quad though, which is strange, but now what if I change the width and height? Hey look, it's live rebuilding the whole panel. Let me switch to the game view. It's like live rebuilding it. Cool. I've wanted this for a while, actually. But yeah, cool. So I have like my disabled tiles and all that. And that's all working. The only thing that's not working is if I do draw panel requirements and I don't have this, they don't get like offset properly. Like when the tiles raise up, they're supposed to be offset properly, right? It looks like the color gets reset every time too, which is a little annoying. But not really a big deal. So that's interesting. Let me see. Okay. So it definitely updates the solution and the starting state of everything. So that is awesome. That means that I can just build panels like this and not have to worry about redoing anything. Like I don't have to leave the editor just because I did something right.